I think there has been a modest decline in democracy over the last 8 years. The number of democracies in the world has kind of stagnated during this period of time, but there's been some significant erosion of freedom and democracy in very significant countries like Turkey, Thailand, Bangladesh, and many other democracies are struggling with economic problems, with doubts about their efficacy and ability to solve the problems that their countries face. Moreover, the authoritarian regimes, Russia, China, Venezuela, have gotten more authoritarian and more aggressive in promoting their forms of government and in challenging the legitimacy of democracies globally. And they've had the money, the resources, and the lack of confidence among the democracies that have given them the space to do this. Well, I think one positive trend is that efforts to impose or reconstruct authoritarian rule have met resistance. We saw this in Georgia, and now we've seen it in Ukraine all over again with the second popular revolution that has given Ukraine another chance at democracy. I think this is a very hopeful development, and it's extremely important that Ukraine become a functional, effective democracy. I can't underscore enough the importance for all of Europe and for democracy globally of Ukraine succeeding in this regard. Secondly, it's true the Arab Spring has largely imploded. The majority of Arab states in the Middle East are more authoritarian now than they were in December of 2010 when the Arab Spring emerged. But there is one Arab democracy now, whereas before there was none. And Tunisia, again, is an extremely important instance of an emerging democracy, the first one in 40 years in the Arab world, that I think the West needs to invest very heavily in, politically, economically, in terms of solidarity and technical assistance, civil society partnerships, to try and help it succeed. Because if we have one successful case of democracy in the Arab world, that could be a point of diffusion for the rest of the region. Third, there is no sign of resignation or defection from democracy at the level of public opinion. If you look at the attitudes and values that people are manifesting in Africa, in the Middle East, the Arab world, in Latin America, and so on, there's been a significant element of resilience to support for democracy. In some countries, erosion; in others, some gain. But support for democracy continues to remain quite strong, and it's perhaps most surprising in sub-Saharan Africa, which is the poorest region of the world and the least well-educated area of the world, but where nevertheless people are quite explicit in saying they want not just democracy, but the substance of democracy with checks and balances and political and civic freedom and real accountability. Finally, I would note that there is still a considerable momentum in favor of greater accountability in the world. This is happening through digital means. It's happening through international norms and partnerships like the Open Government Partnership. And there's a growing expectation on the part of societies and on the part of international organizations that governments need to be more transparent in their functioning, in their budgeting, in their financial operations, in efforts to control corruption. And I think this is a very positive sign that the tolerance for corruption is shrinking. Well, we've learned a lot about the specific trends in a number of different regions. First of all, we've had very deep discussions in the regional workshops that I think have been very illuminating. And one of the things that I think we've learned is that different countries face different challenges. There's a lot of heterogeneity among the different countries, even within the regions. Some are authoritarian regimes that need to be opened up. Some are new democracies that need to be deepened, consolidated, reformed, made more transparent. Some are stuck in a transitional situation where we need to, the world community, help them push forward toward genuine democracy, as is the case now in Myanmar and Burma. And so understanding what the different levels and trajectories of democracy are in these different countries helps us understand what kind of strategies might be called for to lock in democratic change. I think the other thing that we've seen here that's somewhat inspiring is that you have a gathering of former democratically elected, for the most part, heads of government and heads of state who are meeting periodically to call attention to the challenges and imperatives of building democracy around the world and defending democracy against very serious and extensive efforts to try to subvert it. And the fact that so many former democratically elected presidents and prime ministers are here talking about these issues and trying to develop strategies and alliances to defend and advance democracy, I think is a very inspiring and reassuring development.